Parents of Reddit, what is a trait your child has that came from you or your so that you really wish they hadn't inherited? I'm mostly Dutch. My ex-wife is Polish Italian. My 19-year-old sons have thicker, better facial hair than I do at 46. Suckers. My daughter inherited my husband's insistence in figuring things out on his own. It's already difficult enough trying to teach a toddler anything, but when they actively fight your instruction and then throw a tantrum because it's not working out, it makes things significantly more so. I'm just trying to show you the markers only work if you take the top off. Stop screaming at me. I'm pretty sure wanting to figure things out on your own is usually a good thing, although admittedly only if you're good at figuring things out. This is a bad one from me. I have a beautiful little 10-year-old daughter in every way. Very smart, funny, and nice looking girl. Unfortunately, every couple of weeks she has to cut nose hairs which are growing too long. I guess I got to take the blame for this one. When my son was born, I noticed that his ears stuck out quite a bit. Not ridiculously, but enough that I wondered where that trait came from. My ears don't do that at all, and neither did my ex-husband's. One day I mentioned it to him, and half joked whether the mailman had ears that stuck out like that. Turns out, his ears used to stick out quite far, and at a young age his mother got them pinned back via cosmetic surgery. This was my first time hearing about this. Talk about false advertising. My mom's ears stuck straight out to the side and they had to do that too. They weren't able to get it done until she was 13 though. She had bandages wrapped around her head for a few weeks and everyone thought she had a head injury. She also had a third nipple removed. I'm just gonna say this. My dad has long beautiful hair and I'm balding at 20. Frick you grandpa from mom's side. Your grandma already did. My 2-year-old farted in the car yesterday and tried to blame it on me. Yeah, he got that from his mom. No way I would do something like that. He who said the rhyme did the crime. Whoever spoke last set off the blast. Whoever smelt it dealt it. Whoever denied it supplied it. My daughter loves music and singing. I was a classically trained violinist. Her mother is tone deaf. She didn't take after me, rip ears. My younger two are daredevils. I was the same way when I was a kid, so I get it. But they are going to get themselves killed one of these days. My youngest broke his collarbone when he was a little over a year old because he climbed out of his crib. I imagine that we will have many more hospital visits in the future. My youngest is also very tall. That's not a horrible trait I have, but I hope he doesn't have trouble fitting into places comfortably. His bio dad is around 6'7", so that must be where it comes from. That seems uncomfortably tall. I'm 6'7", can confirm is uncomfortably tall. Both my children have inherited their father's inability to act like a decent human being in the morning. They wake up and act like miserable shoots for the first hour of being awake. I'm a human alarm for all of them because they sleep right through them, but God forbid I wake them when their alarm won't. It's like waking a wild beast from its winter slumber. It sucks. I'm totally a happy morning person, and to be stuck with a bunch of zombie-like buttholes for an hour can really put a damper on the day. Luckily it's like clockwork, and as soon as that hour passes they're all back to unicorns and sunshine. My so is like this and I can't imagine a whole house of it. Honestly, I would probably start pushing people put off bed and then going on my merry way about the morning. My parents think I don't know that my mother resents my father for not telling her about the widespread autism in his family before she decided to have a child with him. My 9-month-old inherited his dad's sleep issues, mainly that he doesn't. I am very tired. I'm not positive yet, but I think my son is going to be as hairy as his father. Only 2 years old and has a huge mop of hair on his head. It's adorable right now, and I can already feel leg hair on him. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but the thought of my baby as a big hairy man makes me sad. No matter how big he gets, he will always be your little furball. My oldest son has his dad's loud butt voice. I am trying to teach him to use a normal goddamn voice, but it's been an uphill battle. My son's friend was like that. We nicknamed him Caps Lock. As a child, I used to make fun of my dad's obsessions of things, binging on Redots for a few years, playing the same song over and over again for a few weeks, etc., until I realized that I do the same thing. My oldest is like a mini version of his dad, which is a little comical because he spent very little time with him the first 2 years of his life. They both never stop talking, are very emotional, are easily distracted, and need to argue about every detail of everything. They are the picture of emotionally high maintenance. Occasionally, I want to smother them both. My youngest is very much like how I was as a kid. He wants to be involved in everything, is sassy as suck, and does not share his food. I was at a fundraiser with my family, and my friend got a video of my dad, my grandfather and myself standing together talking. It's 3 generations of the same person, same mannerisms, same sense of humor, same personalities. Crap, we practically even dress the same. Never noticed it until she pointed it out. Alcoholism. Whoa, I'm sorry. Pedantic but like his dad. His favorite word is actually, he's only 4, so his pedantry is also hilariously incorrect about as often as not. He's unfortunately inherited my propensity for tuning right the frick out of a conversation without warning and needing everything repeated later, but I am told that may just be a 4-year-old thing for normal people. My daughter inherited my wife's ability to hold a grudge. If you are rude to her, she will hate you for eternity and think about how much she hates you even years later. Even if she says she forgives you, she doesn't. She will say it just because she knows it's the right thing to do. This is me, and telling me I shouldn't hold a grudge or I should get over it just makes me double down and harbor it even longer. She has her father's need to be right all the time coupled with my determination. She's 4 and usually wrong. She'll argue things to the ground though, like that it's yesterday not yesterday. She also got his curly hair, which is a pain in the butt. I wish she'd gotten my hair. I wake up and my hair looks great. I feel bad about the time she's going to have to put into it. As someone with curly hair, who is the only curly in the family, please do some reading on how to handle her hair. My mom ruined mine for years and I didn't learn how pretty my hair is until my late 20s. It doesn't actually take a lot of work if you know what to do. At 45 I still have 20/20 vision. My ex-wife had been in thick glass since I met her 20 years ago. Both of our kids got her crappy eyesight. My 2-year-old only stops talking when he's asleep and not always then. I love them both, but holy crap do I miss peace and quiet. Ugh. My 19-year-old inherited my hypochondria. She's paranoid that every ache or bump means she has a deadly disease. I can't judge. Every headache I have is a brain tumor. Every chest ache is a heart attack. I told her not to Google her symptoms. I can at least give her that. Fellow hypochondriac here. Can confirm. WebMD is my worst enemy. Not a parent, but my sister ended up with our mother's strong victim mentality. It makes it incredibly difficult to have a familial bond with her like I want to, as I can only go so long listening to her complain about how life has done nothing but crap on her until I have to take my exit. If life keeps crapping on you, stop hanging around buttholes, Dad. He's a home pooper, lone pooper. Like me, he will only go at home or when he is completely by himself in a bathroom in school, in the middle of class. He checks for hanging feet and will go into a holding pattern until the turd burglar vacates. The girl, like mommy, will go anywhere anytime. Best time is as soon as a meal arrives when at restaurants, guaranteeing that I eat cold food. My daughter without fail will poop at every new place she goes to. The best was when we were looking for a new house, she dropped a deuce at every place. My wife's father is a very angry man and I'm told has pretty much always been. My wife is a very angry person. She becomes enraged pretty easily and it has escalated to her attacking me several times over the years. I've never been injured more than a black eye, miscellaneous scratches or muscle pain from having my fingers pulled back, but it's fricked me up inside really bad. We have 2 kids. Our son, the older of the children, is 5 now and since he was about 2.5 years old has been exhibiting a lot of the same behavior. Insanely fast to become more angry than most people ever get, barring really abnormal events. I tell myself frequently that it's not his fault. I try to set a peaceful tone in the hopes that he'll pick up on it. But he's so much like her it hurts me to watch him sometimes. My son seems to have inherited his dad's lying and always being the victim. It's considered bad form to tell your child that's why you divorced the butthole. Once he hits an age where he can understand what you're saying, It probably wouldn't be a bad idea to hit him with that. Maybe it'll be enough of a reality check to get him to stop wrecking himself. My daughter inherited my always gotta be doing or saying something side. If I am not talking, I'm fidgeting with something. Right now, she is behind me making up a convo with herself while twirling a plastic spoon around, while watching TV. Both of my kids have my klutz gene too. My ex-husband and daughter, explosive emotion that overrules their thinking faculties. They get so worked up over imagined slights to their psychological well-being that they get caught up in some kind of emotional feedback loop where it's impossible to hold a conversation or reason with them. Edit. They then feel completely justified in punishing others to resolve the damage to their psychological well-being. I can't divorce my otherwise delightful daughter though, so go with therapy and more recently, yoga breathing techniques to calm her down. I always felt it was more of a physiological issue rather than solely a psychological one. Their brains just seem to be wired wrong. Sounds like textbook bipolar tbh, or worse borderline. The 10-year-old got hubby's anxiety, I think. He has a hard time falling asleep and lays awake at night thinking every problem depends on him fixing them. He has some other issues that remind me of myself, and I'm not sure if they are anything. The 7-year-old got my eye issues, a bit worse. The 5-year-old inherited hubby's extra teeth. She was born with teeth, and an extra tooth popped in behind one of the regular front ones. It's now moved up so she has 3 front teeth on top. We'll see what happens when she loses it. After hubby had his back molars removed, they've regrown. Twice, at least. Dentists don't believe him. They all inherited hubby's vibrating tongue. I don't know how they do it, but my 5 kids, hubby, and his 5 siblings can all do this. Nobody seems to know where it came from and Google hasn't been helpful. It's not something I wish they hadn't gotten though. I swear my 8-year-old was somehow cloned from hubby. Mannerisms, appearance, some weird can't deal with heat humidity thing. He's the same. My in-laws agree. I have a hard time focusing and I'm easily distracted. I'm supposed to be doing work right now. One of my sons is exactly the same way, and I have a great sense of humor. My wife is the straight-laced one. One of my sons got that from her. This kid needs to lighten up. As someone who's also easily distracted, what helps is if you 6 you asks a million questions. Inherited it from me, engineer, and mother, type A. Problem solved. I bought a Google Home. My wife and I enjoy reviewing the Alexa app to see the things our 9-year-old asks it. Most of the time, it's request to play songs, but now and then, she gets pretty deep with it. The other week, she asked Alexa if she has a mother. My wonderfully bright daughter has inherited her father's version of cleaning as well as putting things off until the last moment. Cleaning is something like this. If I can still find a place to sit in my car, then it is clean. If I can still see a small sliver of the carpet or bed, my room is clean. I don't mean hoarders. I mean it is clean if I pick up 1 or 2 items and leave all of the other mess alone. Putting things off to the last minute. If I have something that is due, I get it done so I don't have to worry about it. For them, if something is due, it really isn't due until the last 5 seconds, so why worry about getting it done? It will get done, eventually. Love of sugar. Gotta keep that title or else it's diabetes city and dentistry county of obese land. My daughter has inherited my ability to trip over air. Poor girl. Every 20 seconds she yells I'm okay. She is 5. I have bad OCD, plus ADD. Not a good combo. My son inherited both from me. He gets told at school to let other kids participate and stop correcting them when they're wrong. He's been described as a bit of a perfectionist by his teachers. He's 4. My cat sleeps all day and eats too much. My daughter is 2 and I'm 90% certain she has my face only with her dad's unfortunate hook nose. I think it's attractive, but apparently his nose got his butt beat at school on his 13th birthday and everyone called him a bird. I had a Jewish classmate named Ben, and while he didn't get beat up for his nose, he did get mockingly called Penguin by a bitchy flaming queen in the closet butthole in our grade, who also made fun of me for being socially awkward. Freaking Jonathan. My daughter only has my good traits so far. but I have my mother's erratic mood swings and constant stress. It's something I am aware of and I try to make an effort every day to avoid doing it. I'm mad and a little Asperger's, and my son has many of the same mental traits that made my young life exceedingly difficult. I love him to death, but he's as stubborn as an ox and is heading for a hard life if he doesn't wake up. On the plus, my younger two seem to have dodged the bullet and got the good qualities: high intellect, without the super debilitating ones, stubbornness and social problems. If your son is struggling with symptoms of autism, please get him help. There isn't really any way for him to wake up and change. His brain may be wired differently. Please bring it up to your pediatrician at your next visit. My daughter has inherited my snoring. There hasn't been a field trip with school or any sleepover with friends where this wasn't an issue for me. I hope she grows out of it, or at least finds some friends who sleep deeply lol. In the storied tradition of Reddit commenters bringing random magical advice to the thread, you might have her tonsils and adenoids looked at by an ent if you get the chance. My dad snored his whole life and was a crappy sleeper. Turned out he has sleep apnea aggravated by gigantic freaking glands. My kids got my attitude. One of them got my red hair, but both have my temper, stubbornness, and are opinionated. They both got some crap from their dad too. Our 5-year-old has asthma, eczema, horrible immune system just like their dad. Our 9-year-old has ADHD, anxiety, and depression same as their dad again. Take no offense, but if my general dislike of the thought of having to raise a kid wasn't strong enough, the thought of me and my partner's issues combining to make a super problem kid really seals the deal. 3/4 of my grandparents have blue eyes and are indigenous, so they are brown. It looks so nice. My parents both have colored eyes. I inherited my one granddad's brown eyes. Stuff you, dad. I feel you here. Mum has pretty hazel. Dad has dark brown. Grandparents and other relatives all have different colors. I get brown. Yay. I inherited my dad's tendency to procrastinate. It's a little thing, but it drives me insane. Anytime my so is explaining something, she gets louder and louder. I can only assume it is a Puerto Rican thing where, if you talk to more than 30 seconds, someone else is just going to start talking, so your only recourse is to start talking louder over the person who decided that it's their turn to talk. Our son has started doing this, except we do not live in a Puerto Rican household or around in the other Puerto Ricans. So his Anglo friends just stare at him in wonder as he ramps up the decibels when talking about anything from Pokemon to what he ate for lunch. By the end of any lengthy conversation, my son is almost yelling. My wife sees no problem with this, and my attempts to use a decibel meter app to show her that both of them almost double how loud they are during the course of a conversation only pee her off. And while my wife can get away with this, we do not live in an area where this sort of behavior will be treated anything but alarm and ostracization towards our son. I have no idea what to do with it to constantly try to explain he's getting too loud for what is necessary at that given time. Depression. My daughter doesn't like to learn anything that needs to be learned. Much like her mother, she doesn't try to be good at anything that needs work. If it barely works, it is good enough for her. You have been visited by the wealth rat. Subscribe in 12 seconds and he will share his wealth with you. Like and subscribe, you magnificent person.